but we did X-Men Dark Phoenix. My next pick in the new cycle is going to be 2015's Fantastic Four. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to What Do You Think? It's me, Amir.
It's me, Omid.
It's me, Alvan.
And we are back for a new edition of Title Defense. And like we said in our last video, we did it on Eternals, and now it's back at my turn for the cycle. And I am bringing in 2015's Fantastic Four. You guys watched it. I don't know if this is like the first time you guys have seen it in years, but we are doing a title defense, and today I'm going to be making the point of I think this movie is much better than it is given credit for. I am not trying to shrug off any of the issues with the movie, but I am making the case that I do think it is better than a lot of people say it is, and I think it's on par with a good amount of the MCU. I'm expecting this one to be a bloodbath. I know consistently Omid and Alvan all week, all month, we've been leading up to this. They're like, man, I can't wait to shoot this video. Fantastic Four is going to be so fun to tear into. And I finished my rewatch of it today. And I have to say, I mean, I always really enjoyed this movie. I saw it twice in theaters opening weekend, twice in the same day. And I really enjoyed it. And I think something that probably a lot of people do say, and I still believe to this day, up until the hour mark, I think the movie is incredibly strong. There's a lot of really, really great moments of sci-fi and horror, and it is truly an original type of superhero movie. It doesn't feel like anything that we've seen before, and I really wish that we could have had the full vision realized from Josh Trank of the 100-minute movie, but I'll just kind of open it up to you guys, and I'm curious to see what are your issues with the movie? You guys.
So, Alvin, can I take this first?
Of course.
So, Amir, right off the bat, he said it's better than a majority of the MCU movies.
I said it's on par. I said it's on par.
On par. Okay, even on par. So normally, me and Amir will take this stance for because we're big fans of the Fox universe. And I gotta say, on my rewatch, I was actually surprised to say it was much worse than I remembered the movie being, because I remember the movie being like, oh, up until the 40-minute mark, it was actually really, really good. But when I watched it this time around, I would argue that Amir cannot tell me the motivation to honestly any of the characters in this movie besides, oh, I want to make a machine, and that's kind of it. Mainly with Toby Kebbell's Victor Von Doom, his entire thing is, oh, I guess I hate Earth, so I want to destroy it to then now
that's not even in the
make
first
my
40
own
minutes,
home.
So
I'm saying just the whole movie.
40 minutes.
For sure. I'm saying for motivation in this movie, I don't understand what anyone is doing, what they're doing.
That's so
and
stupid.
I remember when I watched it, especially in the beginning, when Miles Teller's building the machine, I thought Miles Teller actually was the best of the crew. But once they go to Planet Zero and everything after that, I'm like, actually, he is the worst part. Negative, sure. I thought they call it Planet Zero.
I thought they call it the negative zone. I don't know. Maybe it's Planet Zero.
I don't think it's the negative zone because it's another planet.
It's called Planet Zero? Okay, it's
maybe So when they go to Planet Zero, Miles Teller actually becomes the very worst of the entire movie, because when they're trying to say, Amir says this movie is a very grounded sci-fi horror movie, but when they go to this alternate planet, alternate dimension, if they're going to play it realistically, they would be amazed and almost frightened once they're on this other planet. But when they're there, it's happy-go-lucky. Miles and Victor are exploring the entire planet, and the only one that has some reservations.
Well, they went to Planet Zero drunk, and also that is such a small issue of, okay, they went to a new planet, they should be terrified. No, that's how you get the movie started. That's like such a nitpick.
Started. That's at the 40-minute mark.
I'm saying
get started at 40 minutes.
You don't have a movie then if you're saying by the time they get there, they can't be doing anything, they can't be flawed, because that's the whole reason. They go there because they want to be known. They want to be known for their work. They want to become famous. Good. They are young. They are reckless. They are human, and that is something that you're not listening at. Like it is.
No, I just said that part was.
You said that you didn't like that. That Reed becomes the biggest issue with all of this happening, right? You said you didn't like that.
Actor, Miles Teller, actor is the biggest issue with the crew. Once he sees Victor die, oh no, Victor, grab him! Like, if you're seeing this planet explode on a planet you've never been on, and you're seeing a friend that they've worked closely with die, I think he would be a little bit more traumatized, especially when Ben Grimm at the end of this expedition, you see him transform and get fucked. I'm like, man, nothing of this movie, at least nothing of Miles Teller beyond 20 minutes is consistent. But Alvin, let people know, what are your thoughts on this movie?
100% disagree, but let's hear it, Alvin.
Yeah. So I guess a little bit of preamble before we get into my thoughts. I guess it is known that there is a running gag in this show that I have seen or not seen the movie that we were talking about. So I'm gonna take a guess, or I want you both to take a guess. Did I A, watch the movie, B, read the Wikipedia, C, listen to a podcast or watch a YouTube video about this movie? Go.
I mean, they're all very valid. I mean, all of them are possible. I was listening to our Eternals video, and even then, you were discussing how you watched that movie while e-shopping.
Full, like, disclosure, I was watching it on my phone. It was like raining outside. It was like 5 o'clock. I'm like, I'm gonna put a 15-minute timer on. I'm gonna take a small nap.
We still have to acknowledge Alvin watched it on his phone, online shopping, only didn't even finish the movie. We had to forward parts for him. I'm the only one that actually watched the whole movie. And then Dark Phoenix, you didn't even watch it. So honestly, I don't know what to base your actions off of. So using the context clues of our last videos, I'm going to go on a limb and say you probably did not watch this. Knowing you.
I think Alvin is very tired and he's been very busy with work. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think Alvin did watch this movie.
Okay. And I'll reveal the answer. I watched this movie today.
On the TV or on your phone?
You are... Huh?
On the TV or on your phone?
I started in the morning and I had it on the background on my monitor. Then during lunch, I brought it to the main TV, and then I brought it back up to the main TV for dinner. All right?
Okay, it's good. So you had it actually playing, not just on the background when you're in your Microsoft Teams meeting. You paused it whenever you were working.
Yes.
Oh, that's good to hear. I'm happy for you.
So Alvin, let us know your thoughts. You saw this movie again.
I did. So I've only seen it once before. This is my second time watching it in about 9 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I will give this movie props for being the shortest Fantastic Four movie.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good.
That's
right.
That's big.
And I will give this movie. Don't look it up. Don't fact check me.
I'm gonna look it up. I don't even know that's true. Let me look it up. Because actually, if I'm correct, I think Tim's stories might be 90 minutes. This might be a little bit longer, but let me double check. You can go ahead and keep talking about your opinion.
As I recall, this movie, the credits start at like 1 hour 26 minutes.
There's a lot of credits and no post credits.
No, I guess this is a long preamble.
This is longer than Rise of the Silver Surfer is shorter.
Okay, cool. Good for you. So going into my thoughts about this movie, I mean, what can be said about this movie that hasn't been said? It's been 10 years, right? It's just I don't feel anything.
You had a fresh pair of eyes. Watch this movie. Probably went in expecting it to be garbage, like everyone does think, and that's fine if they are easy. Everyone is being told the only things that they remember for this movie is, "Hey, it's fantastic." Say that again. It's fantastic. That's the only thing they remember from this movie. So I'm guessing you probably went in expecting it to be terrible, and I bet you walked out at least thinking it was better than you remember, right?
The first half, I mean, okay, it doesn't make me feel anything. As a huge Fantastic Four fan, I love the Tim Story movies.
You love Johnny Storm, right?
Yes, I told you about this when we saw another movie.
Deadpool.
I'm not gonna, Deadpool.
I
love those two movies, and I love those characters so much that this movie doesn't make me feel anything for these characters, and they kind of have a forced camaraderie. And the shot that I am thinking about specifically is when it's like a time lapse of them building the machine, and there's 4 of them: Victor, Sue, Johnny, and then Miles. They're eating like sushi, and then they're just laughing comically. I mean, it kind of builds artificial camaraderie.
That's the closest thing. That's the closest thing we get to any camaraderie in the movie. So I'll take it, but obviously it needs to have more of it.
I think showing the origin of the Fantastic Four, and Sue's not even in the main part. Like in the comics, She is there on the expedition.
I
She is
agree.
one of the
Well,
four.
that's
She's
fine.
one of the core
What
five.
I
happens
didn't. Yeah, I
here?
didn't like that she was a computer desk assistant. Like the fact not only is it bad on the story, but it also bad on the people who are like, oh, we're gonna go and we're gonna remember for this, but they go without telling Sue, so she
They're
doesn't get any
drunk.
credit for it. That's
They're
so
drunk.
stupid.
Well, no,
That's
I
so
mean
Let
stupid.
me
you have to
let me
understand
get back to
this
my
is a very much like an
Sorry,
ultimate
Alvin,
version.
continue.
Okay.
Yeah, you have the rest of the 47 minutes to talk about your love for this movie. So going back to, I think this movie should not be called the Fantastic Four because they're only a team in the last 7 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
right? You don't
Yep.
see them. Ben shows up, and his first interaction with Sue is in the last few minutes, right?
Why is
Sue's
that
not
an
even
issue?
there when they're, huh?
Why is that an issue? In this story, they
Because
don't
they're the
really need to be.
Fantastic Four.
No, well, so you guys are using your knowledge of the comics for it to be. You're bringing that into the movie, right? Why does Ben Grimm need to have a relationship with Sue Storm in this movie?
Because it doesn't
Because
build the team. Not the for the comic, but I'm saying in this movie, I do not care and believe that they're a team. So
yeah,
if they're not giving any time to establish why half of these guys are working together, why should I care?
thank
Well,
you.
so I
Build some
think so.
characterization.
This reminds me a lot of the conversation that we are hearing with Joker, Arthur Fleck. We are hearing a
No.
lot of people being mad that we've been told from Todd Phillips that Arthur Fleck will never become the Clown Prince of Crime. So a lot of people are saying, then why was this ever called Joker if he's never going to be like his version from the comic? So I think for this movie, you have to take away your past knowledge, any biases you have of, okay, they're not a team. Why aren't they interacting when they're such a big part of the comics? All of these like exterior factors. Just focus.
False equivalency. False equivalency.
No,
How's that
legitimately,
Talk
false?
about
that
false
is the
equivalency.
definition of a false equivalency because they based the marketing of this movie called The Joker for comic book fans, right? You're taking all of the knowledge you have of the Joker as a Batman villain so you can watch this movie and then they just pull it under the rug and they're like, "Oh, he's never going to become the Clown Prince of Crime." You know what I'm saying?
No,
I
I
think
don't.
for Joker, yeah,
Make that point
Joker in
again.
this is a
So
false
you're saying for
is a false
Joker.
equivalency.
Wait. I'm asking Alvin. So false equivalency in the sense of the Joker does want it to be a comic book movie or it does not.
They are taking a known comic book property,
Mm-hmm.
which is the Joker,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
And they're not, at least for that movie, it doesn't really have any comic book elements besides the name of the title of the movie and maybe the city that it's set in.
I
But
disagree,
I
but
would argue for Joker, it's an adaptation, so I think it's fine to be different. But for this,
it's
if
an
it's not
adaptation.
doing the comic book, then I think it does not succeed in anything that it's doing because Joker is a character study of this one mentally ill loner and kind of how society treats him. In this movie, I don't think they have the Fantastic Four right. They don't have a decent villain. The motivations are there because Amber, I'm going to ask you this: what was your problem with Cassandra Nova in Deadpool and Wolverine?
My problem with her is the fact that her motivation instantly changes when she's talking to Wolverine and Deadpool, and then also just she's not really developed
Her
as a
powers,
character.
right?
What? Huh?
She, like not really developed her powers. They don't go
Oh,
over
I don't
any
care
of her
about the powers.
motivation.
No, I'm talking more about the character.
I'm saying motivation. I'm saying if you actually think about it, Cassandra Nova and Doctor Doom are actually very similar in characters. You don't really understand what their powers are. They can do whatever they need them to do at them when they need to do them. Because when he's fighting them at the very end, I'm guessing it's like either force or telekinesis or rock. And then when he kills everyone uh the lab, you don't understand what he's doing and what he wants to destroy a planet so his own trash planet can now be the only world. Like
Here,
it's really
I think we might need to
motivation
take a
makes no
step back.
sense.
I think we might need to take a step back. Let's talk about the beginning of the movie. I think we're going to the obvious weak spot of the movie. Everyone knows the third act falls apart. Once it hits 1 year later, the movie does get a bit weaker. You can tell that it's obviously reshot. Kate Mara has a different wig for almost every other scene. But I think what I want to focus on for this is very much a sci-fi horror movie, very much grounded like The Foxman. It's not necessarily a superhero movie. It's a sci-fi movie first. Takes it very seriously. You're nodding in disapproval. I think the strongest parts of this, because this is coming from Josh Trank, director of Chronicle, which is very much Blair Witch meets superhero movie. You know, like Cloverfield is a found footage kaiju movie. Chronicle is a found footage superhero movie. So he has a really, really strong connection with kind of taking superhero like a property and making it feel original, feel new. I think what works so well about the Fantastic Four here is that we do feel like their powers are a curse. I think that works really well when they come back from Planet Zero. All of them pretty much barely survived with their lives. Human Torch's chamber breaks and he's caught on fire. Reed is just stuck under the rubble and he's stretching all the way, not realizing that his limbs are now almost 100 feet long. And Ben Grimm, trapped under rocks, can't even move. These are all really incredible moments
cool
that What?
Cool visual. Yeah, I agree. They're cool visuals for sure, but the only one who has a curse is Thing because Human Torch is very happy to be working with the military. I have never seen Mr. Fantastic or Reed mention why he does not want the powers because when he's fighting the military, it seems like he's already a master at it. He knows how to manipulate his face to give him camouflage. And then also, Sue, she never mentioned it as a curse. The only one is Thing.
She said she didn't want to be a tool. So, I mean, they're trapped there for a year.
It's not a curse. That's I think you're putting your own.
They're not making it feel like the MCU. When I think what is so refreshing with this movie, once they get their powers, no one is really showing off and proud of it. Like, sure, Johnny is a little bit more willing to kind of become something because he didn't have any. He had no direction in life. When he's talking to Franklin Storm in the beginning, he's just a drag racer. Really no direction, kind of like the hothead. I think what works really well that I would actually think it's obviously not going to happen in Marvel's Fantastic Four, but it was refreshing to see that this is like this is what would happen if the government sees a superhero. You know, they would take control of it, they would put sanctions on it, they would put regulations versus Tony Stark, Iron Man, or Captain America, Scarlet Witch. All of these characters, they become gods once they get their powers. They're above the law, aside from Civil War. So I think that was a really interesting take. Where this feels a lot like an Ultimate universe, where they're the younger versions. They are more rash. They are more emotional. They are more flawed. Because I will say this, I actually really like Toby Kebbell before he goes to Planet Zero. I think the moment he becomes Doctor Doom, that doesn't work. Victor Von Doom, I actually thought he was really, really good. And I would have preferred, honestly, you save Victor Von Doom for the second movie. Once he gets trapped into Planet Zero and he falls into the lava, leave him there. He comes back in the next movie. Because I think he was actually a very kind of sympathetic character. You know, he got screwed with the government, so he wanted to destroy his previous project. And he had camaraderie with Reed, where you can tell he wants what Reed has. He's jealous of Reed getting all of the fame and actually being able to make his project work. He's getting the relationship with Sue. So I actually thought Toby Kebbell did a pretty great job as Victor.
Toby Kebbell for sure is good. I don't necessarily agree with saving it for the second movie because I think if the movie chose to be focused on Victor Von Doom and kind of building the relationship between Reed and Victor throughout the movie, it can be very much like a Spider-Man 1 or a Dark Knight. Alvan, go ahead.
So actually, this is all credit to Mr. Sunday Movies and Meso. But Amir, I think you're right, because the original plan was for Victor Von Doom to be a Herald of Galactus. And
really?
He would be a version of Silver Surfer. So that's why the suit is like the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have had Galactus in this movie on Planet Zero, and they would have introduced Mole Man, who are like staple Fantastic Four villains. And I think when you hear the original version of what this movie could have been compared to what we have, it makes me kind of yearn for what could have been, but I can't judge this movie based on nothing. Yeah, I have to judge this movie based on what I watched. And I think that the best character in this movie for me was Jamie Bell, Ben Grimm. I think my favorite member of the Fantastic Four is always going to be Johnny Storm, but my second favorite is going to be the Thing, just because of I think this movie does it really well to show the horror of, being this rock man. I mean, I can concede to things and still acknowledge that the movie that I watched is not good. but I think
That's flaws for
this
sure.
movie, yeah, this movie, I can see the vision. I will say that. I can see the vision, and I think the best part is when they come back, right? When you see Reed stretch, when you see Ben Grimm under the rocks, when you see Johnny burning alive, his arm is like distorted, it's broken,
That was
right?
great.
And then after that, it kind of becomes it's very rushed because I remember I
Yes.
paused it to go to the gym and I had 40 minutes left. And I think they just got their powers or they just introduced Johnny flying past the UAV. So it was just showing that they had their powers to establish it. And I was like, 40 minutes left. I feel like there's still so much of this movie I remember. And then it's so rushed. They literally
Yes.
defeat Doctor Doom in maybe like two
10
and a half
minutes.
5,
minutes.
6 minutes. Yeah.
Like 10
Right?
Can I
minutes. Yeah.
say? Can I say this?
Yeah, of
I have
course.
2 things. I mean, I think for as much as we love the X-Men movies and the Fox movies, to
This doesn't
say
have
that
anything with the
this,
X-Men movies.
so you said it's on the same level of Foxman movies. So I think those does those
No,
movies a
no,
disservice.
not quality. I'm saying the idea of it's not treating it as a superhero movie. That's what I was talking about.
And because like also what you're saying too, like the government it's controlling superheroes. That's not something totally original because that's the whole idea of Hulk, where they take uh, Bruce Banner's super soldier serum, give it to Abomination, trying to make him a weapon, and they can't control it, and it backfires. So I don't think this movie is as original as you think it is. And you're saying, oh, this movie is like a grounded sci-fi. It's not really a superhero movie, but when you watch it, so
Sorry,
I'm not.
my connection cut out. Do you mind repeating the last minute or so?
Yeah, so I was saying, you're claiming that this movie is like a grounded sci-fi movie that isn't really a superhero movie, but I think when you're watching everything that it does after they get their powers is by the numbers superhero movie. You show them training, you show them in the government facility, you see them understanding their powers, and then they have to fight this universal beam that's destroying their Earth to save another planet. Like this is all very by the numbers, like a Suicide Squad.
Is it offensive though?
What?
I don't think it's offensive. So like people whenever they
It's
talk about this
bad.
movie, no, I think it's forgettable. It might be boring. It's
Doom is
very.
offensive.
You think the movie's offensive?
Doctor Doom is definitely offensive to what the character is supposed to be, for sure. Because what is his motivation? I want to hear you tell me. What is Doctor Doom's motivation in this movie?
Doctor Doom or Victor Von Doom?
They're the same character, but go ahead. Let's talk about Doctor
Which
Doom.
one? Well, so
Doctor Doom.
Victor Von Doom he wants to make a name for himself. Like when Sue is talking about recognizing patterns, I think the pattern she recognized wasn't Reed's. It was Victor's. Victor wants
In
to be
what way?
famous. Victor wants to be famous. He wants to matter. And the first time he couldn't get it right. So he has a fragile ego. We've seen, like how he destroyed all the files, and that's why is it Harvey Allen? Yeah, didn't trust him. So I think for Victor Von Doom, he actually is a very kind of noble character in that he's acknowledging that our planet is dying, and it's like the people in power are responsible for Earth dying. Once he becomes Doctor
They
Doom,
don't mention how Earth is
they do.
dying.
They do say in the beginning.
What,
When
climate change?
yeah, when Franklin Storm is talking to him after he gets him out of his like man cave, and all the three of them are interacting for the first time. He's talking about climate change or running out of resources. But I will concede once he becomes Doom, it's just the run of the mill comic villain, which I mean I think we can all agree. But I think what people need to realize is this movie is, like Alvin said, only 100 minutes, and I think the beginning is so strong. I think the beginning of this movie is a solid 7.5, 8. It's a very strong B, and then once it hits the year later, it becomes a C. But even then, I think
I
nothing
think it's worse
in the
than C.
last half hour is bad. I think, or no, it is bad, but
Nothing?
it's not terrible. It's bad, but it's not terrible. It's like, man, it
How
could
they
have been
stopped
better.
Doom.
It could
How
have
they
been better.
stopped Doom makes no. How they stopped Doom makes no sense. He's choking, like it shows that you can kill Reggae Cathy in like 2 seconds, and then he can't kill any of the Fantastic Four.
It's
And
like
then he's like,
Quantumania.
"Oh, you're so much strong. I'm so
Like
much smarter
Quantumania.
than you, Reed." And then he chokes him, and then he just says, "Oh, behind you," and then thing hits him. Like it makes no sense. Like it's bad. It's
Like
bad. It's
Quantumania.
a
It's like
very.
Quantumania.
It's not. It's worse than It's
You know,
worse than
because
Quantumania.
Kang doesn't use his powers to kill them anytime he could. He kills everyone around the main characters. It's the same thing. And those are both equally bad, which I'm saying I think this movie, and
We
I think
understand
it'll
why
always
King.
be always more interesting to have a interesting failure than a middling mediocre movie.
But this isn't
I think-
interesting because nothing about Doom is interesting because at least for King, you understand why he's doing what he's doing. He wants to get out so he can go into the other universes and kill the other kings, right? To start like
No
this
one really
new
knows.
King dynasty. I do
No
not
one really
understand why
knows.
Doom is doing what he's doing. It is
Yeah,
bad.
but I think
it's
it's like
objectively
you're hanging
bad.
up on the. All right, yeah, we agreed that Doom
A
isn't
third of the
great.
movie's trash.
Yeah,
A third of the
Doom isn't
movie's
great, but
trash.
cinematography of this movie is really strong. Soundtrack is really strong. Like this feels real. This has a very like textured feel to it that isn't there in the MCU. First hour, I'm talking about. First hour when it's not the reshoots. I'm saying, like Alvan mentioned, there is such a strong vision behind this movie that I really wish that we could have got the train cut. Because I don't know if you guys remember, because when this came out in 2015, I saw
Yeah,
the tweets
Twitter
live from
immediately.
Josh
Yeah,
Trank.
we
He's
all
like, oh
did.
man, if you guys saw my version of the movie, you would have had a fantastic version of it.
Fantastic.
You'll never see it. And I'm like, I think this movie is very much like a Justice League or like the original BVS. It was tampered. They tampered the
No
creator's
way.
vision. They tampered the creator's vision. Where if we got to get the real one, I bet you it would have been actually a
For
very
sure.
very strong movie,
Yeah,
like
Okay.
100%.
the ultimate cut.
But I
BVS,
think
no way.
you can't really. The argument that I'm hearing is just like, oh, the first hour is great. We're
Yeah,
not
and
judging the movie on
people
the
don't
first
recognize
hour.
that.
We're
They only
judging the
talk
movie
about
on
the
the whole
meme.
90 minutes, right? We're
What's
not
that?
judging it on the.
I don't even think it's the first hour. It's the first 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's the first. We're not judging the
50.
movie on the
It's
first
once it hits
45
1 year
minutes.
later. It's once it hits 1 year later because everything is super interesting. Like you're saying, for Thing, we get to see him begging for help and Reed, and that's why I think this would actually work incredibly well for Secret Wars if they bring back Reed. Like you don't need to bring any other character except Reed. If you make
No,
him
he was
the
so
maker,
bad.
if you no, listen. If you make him the maker, it would make so much sense for all of the actions that are discussed in this movie because Reed, he like obviously he's on the spectrum. He has some sort
Two
of
characters. Two
social
characters.
what?
He's like two characters. He acts one way in the beginning where, yes, I think he is this cool, quirky nerd. And then after the 1 year later, he somehow understands his powers. He can beat the military.
Well, he's had it for a year, so I wouldn't. That is such a small hurdle to run to get over. But if
Not
he becomes the
consistent.
maker, it makes all of his actions so much more layered and nuanced because he actually screwed over all of his friends because of his desire for knowledge, for power. Like that would actually make him infinitely more interesting. And that's such an easy thing you can do because Secret Wars is a Fantastic Four story. And I think this is one of the few times where doing the callback, the referential casting, like we saw with Andrew Garfield, would I think infinitely make this movie better than it is. Because this movie,
I don't
like
think
only
so.
saying characters are kind of shallow, but I personally think the best characters are Reed and then the Thing. I think those two characters are the strongest. But I actually really love Miles Teller in this movie, and I think bringing him back just for a Secret Wars would actually really benefit because it makes
But
sense. Everything he went
What do
through
you
here.
think?
you
Because he's
keep
vegan.
saying that this movie, you kind of are comparing
He's
this movie to like
flip-flopping.
you're comparing this movie to the MCU, and you're saying how this is either
not
better or
MC.
on par.
Yeah.
And then now you want to bring him back into the MCU, which you think is middling. Why do you want to?
No.
What are you
I
trying
think
to say here, bro?
I'm saying this
He's
will
saying
add
the movie's not a
more
superhero movie,
layer.
but wants it to be super comic booky?
Yes.
Like, what?
No,
So
that's
do you
fine.
like this movie because it's comic booky, or because it's an adaptation and it
I
doesn't
don't.
follow the
No, I don't
comic
want it
book?
to be. I'm not saying make him the maker to make it tied to the comics and make it a callback. I'm saying it now influences his character much more because now he actually is like an evil scientist, a flawed scientist. It's not
Doesn't
just to give him a
retroactively
new
fix
name.
this.
It would. It makes all of his actions now feel motivated because where we see
This
where
is
his
a double
end goal
standard.
is.
Yeah, I don't
In
think.
what way?
I mean,
Double standard.
as
You're saying No Way Home touches nothing of the Raimi movies. Deadpool and Wolverine touches nothing of Logan, but now if it's a shit movie and now it retroactively makes this one better? What?
No, it's like Andrew Garfield. But no. When we're talking about for Toby, it's not that it ruins Toby's arc. It ruins every villain's arc because
Yeah,
they
but you
die
say
a
you don't see it
hero.
as canon, right?
That's why I don't see it as canon because that
Yeah.
isn't done for the story. That's done for fan service. This is done to make the movie better. and it's
How do you retroactively
But
fix a
how-
movie through putting him
Yeah.
in an Avengers movie? That makes zero sense because you're saying it's a sci-fi horror grounded movie, and now it's making him dark read, and it makes it better. It doesn't make sense.
No, it's so. Do both of you guys concede the point that Andrew Garfield coming back to No Way Home influences his character in a way that wasn't shown in Spider-Man 2? We get to see an aftermath of him
it
after
progresses
Gwen
him.
Stacy. Yes, which I
But
think would be the
it
same
does
thing.
not improve those two movies. I like
Same
Spider-Man
thing.
Amazing 1 and 2.
It makes him more likable as a character because he got to have an actual arc. He got to become. We saw how he fell after losing Gwen Stacy, and he failed as a hero, and then he became a hero again. So that made people like those last two movies more because he had a good ending arc.
How does
And that
making
same
Reed
thing-
evil make him have an arc?
No, because now it's like, all right, we understand the character more. Because the whole issue with this movie is that, like you're saying, we don't get to know their motivation. We didn't have enough time. This is like almost giving us our sequel that we
Even
never
more
got.
off-screen development. You want
It's not-
this movie had a problem with off-screen development. 1 year later, everyone is so much different. Now, if you cast him as Evil Reed, like I'm obviously tanning because it's not gonna happen. But like, it makes no sense because why is he acting a certain way at the end of the movie? He loves his friends. He loves the Fantastic.
It's because of his pursuit of knowledge. His pursuit of knowledge, essentially, is what ruined his relationship with all of his family.
They're not a family because you yourself say there's no scenes with Susan and Thing.
Like, when I'm like, you can obviously build them over the next few movies because they don't need to already be the Fantastic Four of, all right, they have to be this certain way. I mean, this is the first movie. It's like you were saying in our BVS video. You were talking about the issues with that movie, and you were writing off the fact that there is wasted time for setting up the Justice League and setting up Injustice.
7 minutes.
But it's a 7-hour it's a 3-hour movie, and they do several different tangents. And you said it wasn't a fair point that I made that is wasted time because you said at the time they made that they didn't know it was going to go nowhere. So that same thing could be said here. Them developing the movie, they thought they were going to get a sequel. They could have developed it more. So
but that makes that movie bad because in the product that we're given, they're not developed. In BVS,
it's fine. This is the beginning of. This is the first chapter. Because
it's not a first chapter. It's like a couple of pages because they don't act like the Fantastic Four until 7 minutes, and then they somehow all worked.
Ignore that they're called the Fantastic Four. This is just.
That's what the movie's called.
No, I understand, but you're basing it off of the comics of they're not acting a certain way. The whole idea of this story is that all of these random kids became heroes by the end of the story. They became something greater, right?
I think you're speaking through metaphors, like you're trying to make it much grander than it is because they're not like they didn't like. I don't know, it's just
It's the beginning. I'm saying the beginning. This is the beginning act. I think this could set up it to be way more interesting because, like you're saying, maybe it is the first chapter, first couple pages. But what they had here, the base, I think could have been very strong for more stories to come. Because I think the foundation is strong.
Interesting.
Casting, I think, is great.
Interesting. Because you're going on what ifs. Judge the movie for what we got.
Yeah, and what we got, I'm saying, is the foundation is good. There's way more good in it than bad.
Whole movie.
I think there's more good than
100
bad.
minutes.
I think the only reason why it is looked down upon so much is because the last thing you're left with is the weakest part of the movie. But I think overall, when you watch the movie, there's more good in it than bad. I think for sure.
I don't think so.
I think the good outweighs the bad. It's just the last thing you see is the bad.
Because Tim Blake, everything with the government, it's so boring. It makes.
I want to hear you talk.
Yeah, I feel like you. So, what do you want to? What do you want to talk about? Like, what you want to just know my thoughts
So,
on?
What was something you like? There has to have been something you enjoyed in this movie that you didn't enjoy the first time. Because I mean, I think there is.
I didn't remember this movie after 10 years. Like you said, I'm seeing it with new eyes. So everything that I'm seeing right now is pretty much.
Did you enjoy anything out of it or no?
Was there anything you enjoyed?
I think going back to what Amir's talking about, where I've known you long enough where you are like, oh, this feels like a part one. It feels like you don't like part ones. You want something to be very self-contained. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No way.
No.
What are you talking about?
You want a full product. You'll talk about.
I think this is still it's still a contained story. Obviously, I would have wanted.
You're literally saying this is the foundations of another story.
Of course,
if
but
it
if
had
you,
the chance
Yeah,
to.
so you
sure,
have
we
to look
had
at. There's so many times like, oh, this is a nothing burger. Like this is the definition of a nothing burger.
Yes,
um
I think
Like
you're
the villain is
you
bad. The characters are boring. There's no motivation for what Jamie
yeah
Bell is
the
you.
the
potential
hidden
is so
character.
strong for
Ben
this movie.
Grimm.
There's
Ben.
so much cool in this movie. Like
I
I'm
think
You're
trying
having
to
fun
Amir.
with it. You can say it's fun, but it's not. It is
cool.
objectively a bad movie. It is
There are issues
one
with
of
it,
the
100%.
worst.
But I
One of
think
the
it's
worst superhero
better.
movies I've
It's better
seen.
than a lot of people give it credit for.
I
Okay,
think
sure. If they say it's a 1, it's a 2. Sure, it's a
It's a
lot better than
5.
people saying it's
It's
a
a
I
5.
1.
think
It's a 5.
let me say you come
5 out of
out
10.
swinging in the beginning of this, saying that this is on par with most MCU movies. Can you
For the
please give
receipts.
me an example of what you think in
I think
this movie is
Eternals,
better?
Marvels,
No. Give me
Captain
an
Marvel.
example from this movie, a scene from this movie, comparing it to another MCU scene that you think is objectively better and stronger that
I know
makes
what
this
scene he's
I
gonna
movie.
think
say.
it's
He's gonna
when
say
Reed
the horror scene.
when Reed abandons all of the members, all of his friends. And
And what
You're
is that
tricked by
scene better
music.
than? What
You're
is that
tricked
scene
by
better
you're
than?
tricked by music.
It's not just the music, but like there's nothing out of the MCU or like they're obviously great. I love I enjoyed the MCU. There's still great moments, but
So
I'm
give a
saying,
scene. Give a scene.
what am I just compared to any scene that I know from the MCU?
Like a shit. Like you're saying it's so much better than these other
Yeah,
movies.
give me
Give
a
an example.
scene you don't like. Tell me a scene that the horror scene in Fantastic Four 2015 is better than.
Okay, then it's better
Okay,
than
if we're keeping it to horror, I feel like
Multiverse
there's
Man.
some.
because
Huh?
I can't think of a time the MCU has done horror because they don't really do genre work. It's
Doctor
just
I would
Strange.
say
it's just
I would say the
fantasy.
closest thing is Doctor Strange, and that's very mild scares. That's not even scary. That's
I can't
13.
I can't really. Are
And
you talking
that is scarier
Multiverse of
than this is.
Madness?
That's scarier than this
So
is.
Multiverse of Madness?
Yeah, Multiverse Man I think has more horror elements than this does. This only
No, but
has the
this is
one
the
shot.
horror is still tied to the character. I can't think of a like I don't even know what horror moment you're talking about in Multiverse of Madness that
When
is
he's
influenced by
corrupting a dead
character.
body. When he's corrupting a dead body.
But that has
And
nothing to
also
do
all
with character.
the shots of Wanda essentially as a grieving mother going into another universe to kill the other mother and like her drenched in blood. That is you can see the horror elements of this. All I
When she's
see in
killing the
Fantastic.
cameos?
Don't you
Sure, when
think?
she's killing the
Let me
cameos
say,
or when she's just drenched in blood.
Amir,
Drenched in blood.
don't you think it's horrific when a bomb went off in the United Nations in Civil War and T'Challa is crawling in the rubble towards his father who's lying there dead? You don't think that's horrific? You don't
I
think
wish
that's
we got. I
horror?
didn't really feel like because I love Black Panther and I love T'Chaka, but I didn't really feel like that was. Yeah, I didn't really feel anything in that scene. But I think it's
Really.
because we also didn't know them at the time. That was
We
the
don't know
first
that we
time.
don't know these guys
We
either.
don't
No,
know
but
these people.
we spent more time with Reed than we did with T'Challa in Civil War for sure. Because I mean,
I
we
don't
didn't
think
know.
so. That's cap. We may have spent more time maybe with
By the
T'Chaka.
time that
With
the
T'Chaka.
explosion happens, 100%. Because the
But
first
sure,
thing you
by the
see
whole
of
movie.
T'Challa
That's an
is the
inciting it's an
explosion, so I didn't
inciting
really know
event.
him. Like you're saying, if we don't know these characters, I'm pretty sure that's the first time we see T'Chaka is the explosion. So we didn't really get to know them before.
What I'm saying, you see his actions throughout the movie of essentially avenging his
Of
father
course, yeah.
and choosing
T'Challa
to
is
not put
yeah, that's
vengeance
better than
over
this one for
someone's
sure.
life.
Yeah, but I think for like you said, just that one moment, I think that one scene is a pretty strong scene. Because I mean, you're asking me to compare it to another
It,
scenes in the MCU. I'm like, there are so many.
because I like what Alvin said. Can you tell us what movies do you actually think Fant4stic is better than in the MCU? Other than like
I would
maybe
say
Thor: The Dark World and the
Quantumania,
Marvel.
the Marvels. I'm comparing it to like the ones that have come out recently. Quantumania, the Marvels. Um, I'd put it on par with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Um, obviously, Guardians is better. No Way Home is better.
I
Uh,
mean, Wanda's a much stronger character than anyone in this movie. Anyone in this
are you
movie.
basing it off of that movie or the?
That movie.
Yeah, she has more motivation for sure. Yeah, but I mean, I think the movie overall is still very, very messy. And this one, it's a little more simple,
You
but the
understand
potential.
you understand why Doctor Strange is doing what he's doing because he can't have Christine Palmer and the whole
I actually
thing is
never
these
understood what was
other
his motivation in
universes.
that movie.
It was the idea of saving the girl, but how in every other universe, Doctor Strange is miserable because he has to be a guardian of the
No,
multiverse.
but how did
And it
because the multiverse of madness wasn't caused by him, right? It was
was
caused
caused
by
by
Wanda.
Wanda.
Yeah, so the main
Actually, so he's
character isn't even the driving force of that story, correct?
the driving force. He's having to save a child from Wanda.
No, but you just said his journey is the fact that he can't live a life or something. But
I'm
I'm
saying
saying
you
he didn't
understand
even.
you understand his motivation that throughout this entire movie, when you see the other Doctor Strange, that all these strangers in these other universes, none of them are happy because they have to choose to put duty over their own personal life. Very much like a Spider-Man. I cannot tell you anything in this movie that is deep like that, because I think if you take out even just Jamie Bell as Ben Grimm, not the Thing. Jamie Bell has nothing to. Ben Grimm has nothing to do. He has barely any interactions with Victor Miles or Michael B. Jordan
Well, I
or
mean, he's a
Susan
victim. He's a
Storm.
victim of Reed's actions.
Can you tell me what is like Ben's motivation or Johnny's motivation?
uh, well, the whole thing was that Ben was the loyal friend that got screwed over by his best friend. So the whole idea is he was there by Reed's side the entire time. Like, are you telling me you didn't feel bad for him when at the beginning of the movie we see that he is essentially a founding member of the biomatter shuttle, and then he
Dude, they
got
don't tell us what he did. They don't tell us what he did.
he was there. He was working with him since fifth grade. Every day they said we worked on it
Yeah.
together every day since fifth grade.
Yeah, so does he actually know science? Like, if they showed it, he could have helped
Probably
build
not.
it. That would have been perfect. That would have been perfect. You could have then incorporated it into the team building
I
scene.
think we can already know that for the whole thing with Ben Grimm, he lives at the junkyard. His future was always there. He even said to Reed once they go to the Baxter Institute, he's like, "Oh, this is not for like people like me. This is like you're in another league." He's like, "Oh, I would
Yes,
never
they
be
should
here."
show more of that. Give us more of that. That can be so good. Show
Yeah, but
like
you got a little
just-
bit of that, so of course. But like the scene you were just talking about for Doctor Strange is one moment in the beginning, and then at the end when he's talking to Wong about, "Oh, are
face
you
your
happy?"
fears, Doctor. Face your fears, Doctor Strange.
What does that have to do with
Amir.
anything?
Christine Palmer
What
Yes.
is that?
talking to
Amir.
Doctor Strange,
What is
saying
face
he's
your-
loved you when she gives him the
You-
broken watch. Face your fears, Doctor Strange.
What
She's
does that
saying,
have?
like, in his universe, he should shoot his shot with Christine Palmer. He said he's scared to get hurt, and she tells him to face his fears. There are multiple
Oh, is
scenes
that
of
what that?
Christine
Is that I thought she was getting married.
in the other universe. Yes, this is another universe. A
In
widowed.
his universe, she
and-
got married.
Yes. But you're saying face your fears and actually pursue your life, your love, because you're saying even she has love for him in this universe. That every Christine has a love for Doctor Strange, but since Doctor Strange can't face it and be open, it'll never happen.
Yeah, Amir. What is Johnny Storm's motivation?
His whole motivation was that when he was working with his father, is he wanted to essentially just be the rebellious kid. He wanted to get the money to get his car back, and then he had a destiny a little bit greater than that. But
Isn't that
of course,
paper
I mean-
thin?
what?
Yeah.
Isn't
Yeah,
that
of course,
paper
I mean-
thin? This movie's
Yeah.
paper thin.
Yeah, but I'm saying I don't think you can argue the characters are at least like the casting is great. Michael B. Jordan, I think, is actually good as Johnny Storm. Do you guys not think he was good as Johnny Storm?
I like him, but he's not. He barely has anything to do. Sure, like you're saying, the casting is cool, but that's not the final product. Like, if they have nothing to do, who gives a shit who they cast? The writing. Because
Yeah.
not to be this guy, I think it's by far the worst movie we've seen on Title Events because it's not a movie.
I disagree. I think at least like when you're looking at it as the 100-minute movie that it is, there is enjoyment to be had from it. There are cool moments. It's like sure, is the story simple? Yeah, but I think it's still effective and
Not
when
even
it's trying.
effective. No,
Mhm.
because even to quote you in the BVS, you're like, oh, Alvin said he enjoyed the movie. You're like, oh, is that really the part we're gonna have for
Oh, no,
just
no.
enjoyment? Alvin liked that had Batman and it just turned his brain off. That's what you're saying for this. That's what you're saying for this. It's enjoyment. It's fun. It has a bad third
It's
act, but like,
different.
I like the music. I like Marco Beltrami's music.
Dude,
Like,
I
you're
think
fooled.
yeah, I think the thing with Amir is like he
There's
just likes to be he just likes to be a little bit different. Like every
No,
time
not really.
he
No,
always
because
he always
that's
finds
not even it.
value when something is different.
'Cause-
He's like, "Oh, this at least took a, this is different. This is different." It's like,
It's better
okay,
than
how many
MCU.
more times can something be different, right? Until it kind of loops back to something that was the same.
I agree.
I don't know, because I mean, when I was rewatching this, it took me back to 2015. We were in high school. I'm like, this was a cool movie, and I still feel that way. I'm like, oh, as a fan, I'm like, all right, what's up? What's so funny?
No,
I want to laugh too, Omid.
I'm gonna be honest. If you
Because
thought
you're
this was a
arguing.
cool,
This isn't an angry argument. I know how you argue.
No,
You're
no.
literally saying, hey, go back. It's cool. This is a cool movie. That's not how you argue. I know you.
No, I'm saying even then, it's like, oh, I think there's still value. Like
Critical.
people, they just write this off because it's what a 9% Rotten Tomatoes, right? I'm guessing both you guys. I'm waiting for you guys to use that as a defense, right? Do you think
I
that
didn't know that. It's 9. It's a single
no,
digit.
dude, the fact that
rotten.
you know that's crazy.
Well, because I looked it up just in case you guys were going to use that defense.
I agree. From what it sounds like you're saying, I'm guessing you're gonna put this movie somewhere around the 7, right?
No, I said it's a 5. I said a 5.
Oh.
It's a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
Because I think half the
Then
movie's good.
Don't you give Deadpool like a 6?
Deadpool, I give a 7. See.
I think it's a clear different, like this movie
It's
is
zero
not
points.
this is not an average movie.
It's
This
a 5
is
out
a
of 10.
bad.
There's no way you can tell me there's no value. I think the whole thing that I want people to get out of this conversation, I think that you guys might be missing the point of a title defense, is there is much more value in this than people gave it credit for. No one rewatches this movie, and I bet you when you guys finished it, you guys realized it was much easier to watch than you normally anticipate.
It was worse. It was much worse than I remember, and I was genuinely surprised.
I don't believe that.
Let me
I
say.
was surprised by that.
I don't believe that.
Let me say something. If it wasn't for this channel and this video that we're shooting right now, I would never have any reason to rewatch this movie. Okay.
Which is the whole purpose of this whole series. It gives people a new perspective out of it, and I think we kind of gave them good reasons on the value.
Rewatch heard it for me.
What do you mean we?
Rewatch heard it for me.
You are the one who gave. Dude, you are spewing word salad right now. You're just spewing stuff to us so we just get confused at what you're saying to overwhelm us where we're losing sight of your main argument. That's how you always argue. You just
not
throw
even.
random stuff
Not
at us.
even. That's not what I do. I think I haven't, because you guys, I mean, you guys aren't even, I feel like, being fair with giving it actual credit. I haven't.
You're not
really,
being fair. You keep saying.
I acknowledge issues. I want to hear both of you guys say something good.
This movie is good. Half of this movie is good. That's what you said in this video.
I think 30% of this movie is bad. I think the last.
You said half. You literally said half.
That's why it's a 5.
Okay, sure. A little more than half, but sure. I'm curious, both of you guys. I want to hear something good out of this because there's no way you can say there's no value out of it. If there's no value, then I'm like, you guys are just a brick wall that doesn't really use your brain.
I actually enjoy when Reed goes into the Baxter Institute for the very first time and he's building his, I guess,
biomatter shuttle.
Biomatter shuttle. That's cool. That's cool. I think I would have probably taken out, honestly, I would have taken out the kid scenes in the very beginning. I think if you just introduce us to Reed kind of right off the bat and get the movie going. Also, I mean, I will say I do like Toby Kebbell, and what I liked about him was they were kind of showing his very liberal views and kind of anti-government views, and it almost can lead into him being a ruler for Latveria, which could have been cool. I mean, this movie does none of that, but I like the idea
Who cares
of
about
how
that?
he's
That's
so
just comic stuff.
I'm saying the idea. I like that he's so anti.
To turn into a comic book movie by bringing Miles Teller into the MCU.
Man.
No. That has nothing to do with the comics. That has nothing to do with the comics. I'm saying it makes him tragic because now he's like an evil scientist. That makes it like,
why is that interesting? How is that making any difference?
The character that we're following actually was a bad guy. I would actually love to see that.
So if you want a character in an Avengers movie to be an evil scientist, spoiler alert, they're doing Doctor Doom already. All right, so he's kind of.
No, I'm saying this would
Amir
actually.
Thought he cooked. Amir for sure thought he cooked. Saying the maker to go into Avengers.
Of course not.
Sure thought.
No. But for all we know, I mean, is Doctor Doom even going to be Doctor Doom? It could just be Tony.
And then it works the same way with what you want. Instead of an evil Richard, Iron Man actually was evil.
No, but this
That is
one
exactly
is
what
interesting
you want,
because
just a
it's
different
the same
actor.
version we saw. It's the same version we were following. It's a pseudo sequel.
But it's off screen. So why does it matter if it's the
But
same one we saw?
the off-screen development now influences his action from the past. It's retroactive. It's just like how Andrew Garfield did it.
You don't like
But
it when they do it with Spider-Man. Why are you okay with this? Is it
What are you
because
talking
it's a
about,
shit movie?
Spider-Man? Which aspect of Spider-Man are you talking about?
You don't like that anything about No Way Home is retroactive to the Raimi verse.
No, because it fucks up the lore because those characters died.
Okay, that fucks up Josh Trank's vision of Miles
No.
Reed being a actual good character.
Yeah, Amir. What is like one of the golden rules that they taught you in film school? I think
Yeah,
I'm pretty
show,
sure I
don't
know what
tell.
it is. Yes,
The script,
show
the
don't
script.
tell.
Yes, but
Right?
we would see through his actions. It's like, all right, his hubris essentially taking over. The idea that the pursuit, because I think in this movie when Sue is talking about recognizing patterns, right, and he says, "Oh, I don't want to be famous. I just want my work to make a difference." This now we can actually see that be paid off if he becomes this obsessed evil version of Reed. I think that would be interesting. You're telling me that
So
both of you guys wouldn't be actually kind of interested in seeing him come back?
I own Grufford would have been way more interesting because I actually got to know the character.
I wouldn't want him to be the maker though. He wouldn't make sense for him to be evil.
Because you
So-
like him being a good guy because the movie actually does a good job of making him Mr. Fantastic.
yeah,
Right?
Not
Because
making
this
Mr.
guy
Fantastic.
is
more
so-
precious.
his
There's more
action,
pressure to
his action.
because they did a better job of characterizing the character.
Amir.
So when was the
Let me
last
ask
time
you:
you get? All right, let's hear this.
did Miles Teller's Reed Richards actually set out? Did his character arc, complete? Is it complete in this movie? Did he set out to make a difference in the world? Yes or no? Don't even think about it. It's just yes or no. It's literally it's 50-50. It's 50-50. It's a coin toss. You don't need to think too.
I
It's
do
not.
need to think. I'm calculating because it's 100.
No, it's yes or no. Does he make a difference in this world? Does his action make a difference in this world? Yes or no?
I'm thinking. Maybe.
Because
Oh my God.
it's a lose-lose bit. Because if he says yes, it proves Alvan's point. If he says no, the movie's shit. It's a
Yes.
lose-lose.
How is it a lose?
Checkmate.
If I say yes,
End of
why
the
is it- why
video.
do I
We're
lose?
done.
It says yes because then it wouldn't make sense for him to be evil Reed, and if you say no, then the movie's shit because it didn't give a full arc.
Wait, so do you think that his arc get paid off in this movie?
Me?
No,
Oh, so
No,
you don't think
his-
so? Okay.
I don't think that the thing that he said to Sue, where he's like, "I want my work to make a difference." What difference did this make? He just created a huge crater in Oyster Lake or Oyster Sea, whatever. That town. There's now a huge hole. There's a gaping hole. What are they doing?
So actually, yes,
There-
no, you're right. He did not accomplish his goal.
They can be seen actually
that's
as
interesting.
domestic.
No,
They can be
that actually
slapped
makes
domestic
it, that would actually work
terrorists.
perfectly. He did not accomplish his goal. That makes it actually more interesting now that I think about it.
Because now he can be evil.
Yes.
Right?
Okay,
And follow
tangent,
the comic
tangent.
books. Follow the comic books for Avengers. But then now, literally in the same video, he doesn't want anything to be
I'll
comic
say
books
this.
in this
I'll say
movie.
this. Amir wants a dark Reed. Can we talk about the costumes, Alvin? What do you think of the
Oh,
costumes?
I
in this
actually
movie?
enjoyed the costumes. I thought it was actually a
Of course
really
you
cool
did.
grounded take.
Of course you fucking did. Sue's costume is a black bodysuit. Nothing about it is special. They did not put any thought
Johnny's
into
and
it.
Reed's were cool.
Reed's doesn't make any sense either.
It
Why
had,
does he have
springs in
springs?
it.
Why
It's
does
to
he have
stretch
springs
with
via
them.
the spandex? Why does it just
It's
not
to
have
stretch
regular
with them.
spandex? How do the springs change it just being spandex material?
It probably gives it more kickback on it. I don't know. It's an interesting. I don't even know the fucking science behind it. It's an interesting design. It's like
But
because
you know
remember
what?
this is like their homemade
science.
suits. It's the homemade versions. It's like
Yeah.
He somehow knows how to use
stage
his.
0.
He somehow knows how to use his powers to. Also, his
Well,
like,
he's the
skin tone
smartest man in
changed.
the universe. That's factual.
Not in this movie. I don't believe that shit.
And if, as a 5-year-old kid, he made a flying car and he made a biomatter shuttle.
They don't show the flying car. He said he stopped working on it.
Yeah, but I mean, we know that he had a flying car. That's.
Oh, cool! Fantastic for flying car that they don't actually show.
I actually
No,
would have loved to
come
see that.
on,
I don't know if
man.
you guys saw. There's actually a really cool set photo. I think I'll send it to you guys later. The
I love
saw
Fantastic
it in
them.
car.
Deadpool.
The
I saw them.
Fantastic car would have been epic. It was like
Yeah,
a
I
It
saw
was epic
them.
in Deadpool and
Challenger.
Wolverine.
It
Yeah.
wasn't in Deadpool and Wolverine. Not their Fantastic car.
I'm saying
So-
a fantastic
It's like
car.
a
Who
bucket
gives a
in that
shit?
movie. It's like a bucket.
Yeah, let me ask you this. This video is going on way too long. This is
It's worth it.
nothing.
It's a therapy session because This actually is the
I think
first
y'all
bad
hated this
movie.
movie for some reason.
This is like a nothing. This is a
This is the worst
nothing
movie
burger.
Worst
Yes.
movie we've seen on this channel. Worst by
I don't
I don't
fucking
even
far.
think so.
And let me ask you: do you like Reed as a character?
I do. I'd say
Okay,
as
so
a
you
kid,
like someone who
as a
abandons
kid,
his
my
friends?
favorite character in the Fantastic Four was always Johnny Storm. Now, because also I'm curious, you guys have never rewatched the Tim Story ones recently. When was the last time you guys rewatched those?
Alvan had a follow-up.
Okay, well,
Dude,
what
in
was
No
your-
tangents. No
okay,
tangents.
no tangents. You said yeah, I do like Reed Richards. I think he's actually the most interesting. Him and the Thing can be the most interesting. Yeah.
So what like because in this movie Reed abandons his friends and leaves them in the government facility, promising that he would come
would
back and
actually work
save
really
them.
well with if you make him the maker.
No. But we're talking
Make him
about this movie,
selfish.
not a. We're talking about this movie, not a potential future movie that this character will appear in. Okay, we're talking about this movie where he promises his friends he would come back and save them, but he
And he
is
did.
now then. No, he didn't come back. He was forced to come back, right?
I mean, he was
Not on his
working.
own
He
volition.
was working on a cure though, so he wasn't he didn't lie. But I actually really
He
like
never
that where
showed it.
Thing has this really great line of he's like, "Oh, I promise I'm gonna fix you." He's like, "I stopped believing in your bullshit a long time ago." That was a great moment, right?
Oh my god! It's not that. You like the music in the movie. They don't show anything. How was he trying to fix thing? What do they show that he
They
does?
said that. They said when he was in New Mexico or wherever, he was asking for sightings of the rock monster. That's what they said. So obviously he was working on a cure. That's what is obviously speculated.
They show it.
Was
Why
it
don't they show it?
was
Why
it
don't they
was it
show it?
explicitly said, or did you
Yes.
just gather
No,
that from your
this one.
smart
No, this one is
brain
actually not me grasping at
watching
straws. This one's
movies?
actually factual. This one is actually factual.
They said that in the movie
Yes.
that Reed was working on a cure for Ben.
Yes. Yes. This
Okay.
one's not me grasping at straws. This is not me doing my aneurysms of using my film degree or doing my big brain isms. This is actually from the
I
movie.
don't have any big brainisms.
Hmm. Okay. Well, I'm glad you picked up on
I
that.
mean, Omi also brought this up. I think the music's actually incredible in this movie too. It was composed by Marco Beltrami. He did Logan. I thought the
Oh
soundtrack
wow,
was
awesome!
actually great.
Sing me the theme.
Yeah, I will. That's
No,
actually
sing me the theme. Hum
Oh, I
the
mean,
theme for me right now.
I'm tone deaf. I couldn't do it. I can play it for you
I've
though.
heard you. I've heard you sing. I've heard you sing. You're pretty good. I've heard you sing.
It's so forgettable. It's so forgettable. I know the exact scenes you like the music from Ben, I'll come back for you, I promise.
I love
When
that
they're all
scene.
covered in rocks. Like I would believe honestly, Doctor Doom's ability is honestly just like telekinesis of rock. Like he just used rocks. It makes no fucking sense. Nothing about
It's just
Doctor Doom is Doctor
telekinesis.
Doom.
Yeah, but see, then that's you using
Then how
your
does he have
comic book
this-
knowledge. It's all you need to know.
Then you're
is
saying you want
telekinesis.
this evil Reed from the comic book.
No, it's not that it's from the. I want it because it's from the comic book. I think it makes the character more interesting if he's a flawed villain. I think that'd be interesting. The
I
idea
don't
of.
think so. I think you have that be Doctor Doom.
But this is a different character. Doctor Doom can have his own arc. Because I agree, Doctor Doom was wasted. That's why I always say save him for the second movie.
Okay.
He's
Can you?
trash
So
in
you?
this fucking.
Yeah. You
Trash?
keep saying that.
Can you stop talking about fucking sequels? This did not get a sequel. We're talking about the fucking project that we got.
Yes. Thank you, Omi. Thank you. So
Golly, God fucking leave.
I actually remember
Emily.
I was devastated when the sequel was canceled. I was actually because I
remember
think,
that.
huh?
Made me happy. It made me so happy. I remember you said it made me
So
so
let me ask you
happy.
guys this then: would you guys have wanted a sequel for this to come out? I think you guys
No.
would have. What?
No.
I don't think it
No.
would have been better than this.
I say redo the third one. Bring back the original cast. Bring back Jessica Alba, Chris Evans, Michael Chiklis, and Alan Grufford.
Ewan Griffith.
Yeah, whatever his name is.
Amir.
What's up?
You know,
So I
throughout
just don't
this
believe you
video,
guys just didn't. You had no enjoyment out of this because for BVS, you guys were talking about how giddy you were, that it felt like the cartoons, and you
The
were
levels
kidding
of
Did you not
BVS
feel that here?
cinematography is so much better in BVS. Soundtrack so much better. Hans Zimmer did a much better job.
No.
This is not even close. And BVS has problems. This movie is infinitely shittier than BVS.
let me say,
I
right?
just don't agree. I think there's no way you can tell me you had no enjoyment. There's nothing you enjoyed. That's just bullshit to me. Like there's for sure things you
We're
enjoyed.
not all the same mind. I'm free to
Yeah,
have my
we're not
opinion. I did
all
not
Amir
enjoy this.
B. Hajurnia, the perfectionist. All right. Like,
Alvin, go ahead.
I think, they call this movie the Fantastic Four, and you're saying, oh, don't compare it to the comics. Don't compare it to the
It's
comics.
an adaptation. It's not a recreation. That's what I always say.
I just feel like the characters in this movie are just so boring, not likable. Like, can you please tell me the
Did
metaphor
you
of
like
why
Franklin
these?
Storm or no?
No.
Can you please tell me of the metaphor of these characters having the powers, why they have them? Can you please go into depth for why this movie based on the lore?
Yes.
So it could be
Yes.
Reed Richards having the moral flexibility if he's like the maker. I'm gonna keep kind of going back on that.
No, I'm saying
That's
stop
not
going
in
to
the
the
fucking
maker.
movie.
I'm saying then sure. I guess him having. I mean, does it ever matter when they have their powers?
Yes. Yeah, I can tell you right
There's
now.
a-
I can tell
so-
you.
There is a
I
very
guess it's the idea
significant
then for
reason.
Reed being spineless and essentially
No.
gaining courage and rigidity. What?
He always stretches himself too thin. That's how it is in the
Uh,
comics. Johnny's the hothead.
Yeah,
Sue is invisible
obviously.
because people look through her. People always underestimate her. That's why she's the invisible woman. The Thing, he's solid. He's always there for you. He's the rock guy,
He's
right?
the best friend. He's the best
Yes.
friend.
Oh, okay.
He's solid. He's the
I'm surprised you
foundation.
didn't know and I didn't surprise you didn't know the Human Torch one because even this movie
Obviously,
doesn't do a good
hothead.
job.
That's obvious, but I'm like, I was trying to think of a better way because I mean, hothead. That's really nothing. That's a nothing sandwich. But yeah, the Reed one that's actually really good. I never thought of it that way. How he stretches himself too thin. That makes a lot of sense, especially from the Tim Story movies. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the Tim Story movies.
I'm agreeing with you, Alvin.
Okay. So at least you keep bringing up that the first half of this movie is legitimately great.
It is.
Oh my god, it's the best thing since sliced bread is the second coming of Christ.
Never fucking said that.
This is
I
what
never
you've been
fucking
saying.
said that. Never
This is what
fucking said that.
This is what your actions have been saying. All right.
I think
Say
it's better than most people give it credit for. I think this movie is worth the
Okay, if
rewatch.
people give
I
it
don't. I,
one
I don't need
and
to
two,
hear you say that again. I've heard you say that it's better than most people give it
you
credit
you're
for.
so
Which
independent.
is exactly
Why do you give a shit what people say?
Well, I'm saying that's the
Me?
whole purpose of this franchise,
Amir,
this whole
he's-
series, is we're trying to get people to look at a movie from a new lens. And
No,
I think
okay.
people that would rewatch this, like, is it really any worse than Daredevil, Elektra, Blade Trinity?
Yes. I think it's for
I
sure
don't
worse than
think so.
Daredevil. For sure
I
worse than
rewatched
Daredevil.
Daredevil.
I didn't even finish my thought.
Okay,
Amir,
Alright,
can
go
you?
ahead.
No worries, no worries.
He also
Can
tangent.
you?
It wasn't just me. He tangent
I
too.
said sorry.
I
That's
know.
why I said sorry, Alvin.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Amir, can you please just what do you like about? Is there any redeemable factor of the second half? You keep saying this movie is good, but you always stipulate it that it's the first half. What about the second half makes the whole movie, the whole 100 minutes, a good movie? Tell me.
Obviously, Omid alluded to this before. I think the soundtrack is actually very strong in the final.
What visually on the screen and written on the script for these characters
I really
makes
like the
this
moment when Reed gets depowered and he sees everyone around him like about to die. He feels like he caused this. I liked that scene. That was actually pretty cool.
Why does
When he gets
why is Johnny Storm happy to see Reed after he abandoned him?
because they were homies. They were doing the shuttle together for like a year.
Something that's not really interesting that he doesn't feel abandoned.
No, because that's already Ben's thing.
So
I feel like
Johnny gets nothing with Reed.
Well, it's because he doesn't feel any ill will of having these powers. He sees it more.
Well,
as
when he comes in, he kind of checks him and then he hugs him. So for sure they're playing it as if he was gonna have a bone to pick with him, but then they don't because they realize, oh shit, that's more effort to actually write a dynamic between the two characters.
Maybe, yeah, I guess. I mean, already Sue had issues with him and Thing had issues with him, so it would just be redundant if they all hated him, right?
Oh, but wouldn't that be crazy if multiple people felt the same thing? Isn't that crazy that multiple people
It's
have
more
feelings?
dynamic if you're having two hate
Isn't
him
that
and one.
crazy? That's probably like how real
Well,
life
you were saying how
works.
you wanted him to be abandoning his friends. I think then all the friends should feel abandoned because they were abandoned.
Yeah, thank you, Omid. Good point.
Yeah, but that's not really Johnny Storm as a character. He's not like
Why
really
not?
the person that holds grudges. He's like
What are you talking
Where
about?
are
From
you-
the comic book? Wait, from the
Where are
comic
you
book?
getting this
He's
from?
a
Where are you
party
getting this
trick.
characterization
In the
from?
movie, he was always chill with Reed. He was always
Well,
chill with him.
he had a grudge with his daddy, so I think he'd probably have a grudge with Reed. Because
Yeah.
all I saw, he had a grudge with his father, so it seems like he's petty.
Yeah, I think there was actually deleted scenes of him and.
Okay, I don't give a
Oh
shit.
wow, that's crazy. Talk about the movie that we actually watched. How about that? Hmm?
So you guys just really see no value out of this. That's so bullshit.
I'm not
Like,
saying no value. That's why it's not 0. The movie's not a 0 movie. It's a 2 movie. There's
What did
some
you
cool
get-
moments too.
What did you give Eternals?
I think, I don't know, a 5 or a 6. I think Eternal is better than this.
And what do you
It
give
is.
this?
I give this like a 2.
2 out of 10? No fucking way.
The
There's no
movie
way.
is actually bad. Tim Blake Nelson
haven't
is
heard
a
any-
joke. He's a joke.
Who?
I haven't heard you compliment anything of Tim Blake Nelson. So you can't even you're not even talking about like you don't
I
you
think,
Dr. Doom is
Franklin Storm is great. He's like the Uncle Ben character of this.
His death is terrible in this. His death is laughably bad.
Really?
His eyes just glow and then he gets burned. He's like, oh, make sure to take care of each other. How about you actually? How about you actually?
I think you guys internet cut out again. Maybe the haterade is too powerful.
Yes.
I think the haterade cut the internet out. So you guys repeat that?
I was
yeah.
saying it would be way more interesting because of Reggae Cathy's death was so shitty because Dr. Doom just blinks at him and he dies. It would have been much better if you actually gave a whole ass scene to it rather than 6 seconds of John like, oh, I'm sorry, Dad. How about you have him actually like get mad at his dad and like write a whole scene where he really regrets the last scene he had with his dad. Like nothing about this movie is just wasted potential of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that point where it would have been better if we had more. I think if the movie was just longer, it would have been even better. I agree. I'll concede that point. I think, is this a flawed movie? I 100% think so. But I think for a lot of people, if they rewatch it, I think it's actually more enjoyable than you would remember. I'm surprised. I think, I guess you guys didn't really like the dynamic
Nelson?
between who? No, it's the
Blake
dynamic
Nelson?
between Thing and Reed.
I mean, because they didn't develop it. He just forgives him. I don't even know why he forgives him.
He kind of saved them from Doctor Doom. But yeah, that was done fast for sure. I mean, the whole movie, the ending is rushed, but I think just for the first hour alone is a value. Where I do think it's
Christ, bro.
You should have like a scene because Ben hates himself for how he looks, and at the very end, it's fantastic. Like, how about you actually like have a scene where he can come to terms with the way he looks and have him forgive Reed? Like
that was going to be the second one. You can't obviously tackle all.
Dude, no, literally,
issues.
literally stop. Like
including
you
the
have to stop.
He's trolling us. They need to conclude arcs in the movie that they are presented in.
Obviously.
Otherwise, you have a movie.
What?
If you don't conclude the arcs in the movie they're in, then you have an unfinished movie.
Yeah, and so I want to ask you this because I know you love this movie so much.
I just enjoy the movie. I don't really love the movie. I enjoy the movie. I think it's a fun movie. It's obviously not as good as like the X-Men movies, but I think it has redeeming factors. Like I really like.
You're so good at You're so good at just yapping. You didn't even let me finish my thought, and that's how you argue, and that's how you do these types of videos. All right,
Yeah.
because I said if you enjoy this, I didn't even finish my thought. If you enjoy this movie so much, and literally like 2 minutes beforehand, you said, "Oh, this movie just needs to be longer." What would you have added? How would you have improved this movie?
I would have loved at least half an hour of them all in the facility together, seeing them actually talk about whether or not they want to be the test subjects, they want to be the weapon. I think that would be really cool. Where I think the midpoint should have been once they brought almost Reed back, or because I mean I don't know if you guys remember from a lot of the trailers, there was a lot of cut footage of the Thing. The Thing was
and Jamie Bell.
killing machine. I would have loved to see them kind of go into that where the idea that the government took advantage of him and he almost had to come to the reality that he is never going to become human again. I would have loved to see stuff like that. More of the dynamic between Sue and Johnny, because you do get the hints of them having some sort of troubled relationship, him not feeling maybe as loved by Franklin Richards, and that's why he feels like he has to act out. I think that would have been really interesting.
Giving them
Reed,
arcs.
huh?
Yeah, it sounds like in your proposal, you're just giving them arcs and characterizations. Everything.
Yeah,
Really
this is all the
have.
stuff that's in there. I would develop what is there, because everything I said is in the movie. But like we all agreed, the movie's rushed.
Flesh it out.
The movie is rushed, and they didn't get to execute the vision they wanted to. But that's what I would have done is, instead of the 1 year later, that's half an hour. You get to see them actually live. They coexist, because I think this movie is better than New Mutants, but I did feel like there were some similarities in this, like how for the New Mutants it's about these misfits trapped in this hotel or hospital, and they're learning kind of how to coexist, and it kind of also had horror tropes. So I did feel some similarities, but I think this is more effective than the New Mutants. Would both of you guys agree or no?
I have to watch it again, but I remember I did not like New Mutants either, but I would have to watch it again to make that.
Yeah, so that's what I would have done is I would have added at least half an hour just to flesh out all the stuff that is set up so well in the first hour or so. But I mean, yeah, is this movie flawed? I 100% agree. And do I maybe like it more than most people? Probably. But I think there is more value than a lot of people give it credit for. I don't think it's one of the worst superhero movies ever made. I would say it's just as same quality as like a Thor 2. I would put like like you said, Quantumania.
Before we close out, it feels like a lot of what you're talking about is like so abstract. Like I haven't actually heard you say anything concrete about the movie that's actually good.
I actually really like the. I think
a lot of the government.
I think what they executed. I think what they executed in the beginning with them building their machine. I thought that was actually great. I felt the camaraderie amongst them. Where I was like, oh, even if we had more there, that would have been even more of a plus. But I actually really enjoyed that. That's one of my favorite scenes in the movie too. When it's just you're seeing them all work together. Where they did feel like you might not agree. Like they didn't feel like a team when they were superheroes, but they felt like a team when they were scientists. And I actually really liked that.
That was one of the few good things about the movie when they were actually working together. But
yeah, I loved
that.
I
mean, there's just so much of the movie that you're just not talking about, like anything about the government. Honestly, I mean you've conceded that Doctor Doom is bad. Like, can you give us that the trash beam makes zero fucking sense, and then the way that they stop Doom in like 3 minutes is
like
laughable.
Stealing the resources from one planet to give birth to another one.
Which is so dumb because like that was our problem with Cassandra Nova, that she was like, oh, I'm gonna make my trash planet the only planet. That's what he's doing for this, and we don't even understand why he loves this planet so much. And it makes no fucking sense.
So then, are you saying that Deadpool and Wolverine is similar to this in quality?
I'm saying the villain is this is probably a shittier villain because they just have 2 minutes of screen time. But I'm saying the problems in Deadpool and Wolverine, we're seeing it here, but done tenfold, because this villain is just here to kill people and just make his trash planet the only planet. It's just laughably how fast they kill him too.
Yeah, I agree. They killed him too fast. For all we know, when he got put into the top of the laser, we don't know if that killed him or not. But because I'm guessing they probably would have brought him back for the sequel. I don't know. They brought him back in the Tim Story one, so yeah. So it sounds like you guys hated this movie.
It's an objectively shit film.
I don't think it's objectively shit. I think
it's the worst movie we've seen on this channel.
No, we saw Infinity Pool. We saw The Whale. I think those are infinitely worse.
Whale won an Oscar.
Yeah.
Is that what means quality? So is Bohemian Rhapsody an Oscar-worthy movie?
Hong Chow is better in The Whale than every single actor in this movie.
Yeah. We saw The Boy and the Heron as well.
What does that have to do with anything? That won an Oscar too. Then by all means logic, that's of good quality.
I just wanted to make a joke at your expense.
I actually did watch Boy and the Heron. It was great, but I personally think this movie is worth a rewatch. I think a lot of people, if you watch it, I think, because I wouldn't be surprised. I bet you if they bring back these actors, especially with Deadpool and Wolverine, maybe people will be more remembering this more fondly. I mean, they had it in the end credit scene, so I wouldn't be surprised if people go back to this.
I'm happy you enjoyed this movie. It seems like it has a special place in your heart for the nostalgia and where you were in your life. But I just take a problem when you're comparing it to others and claiming it to be better than other movies. When I think objectively, structurally, foundationally, this movie is inferior in almost every way. I think it is for sure one of the weakest superhero movies we've seen, and justifiably didn't get its sequel. I hope they don't bring back Miles Teller for the Maker, because that kind of stands up. That goes against everything that you want, because you said you're so sick of member berries. But I guess when it's something you like, you'll turn it
untapped potential. I think that's the only reason why this would work. It's untapped potential.
I don't think it's untapped potential. I think it's truly bad.
What's up, Alvan?
But I think because it's something you care about, you'll turn a blind eye to it.
No, because I think I don't want them to bring back Laura, Daphne Keane. I love Daphne Keane. I don't want her to be the new Wolverine. I want a new female Wolverine. I don't want it to be Daphne Keane, because Logan is perfect, and I think her already coming back to Deadpool lessened some of her character. But I think with this, there's really nothing to lose by bringing them back, or at least by not even them, just him. There's nothing to lose by bringing him back.
Just move forward, like you said. Stop looking back. Move forward. We have a new Fantastic Four. This is the one time I think it would be serving the story. Because I don't think so.
From what we've seen, Secret Wars is going to be the Avengers 6, and Secret Wars famously is a Fantastic Four story, and the Maker plays a big part in that. And
you mentioned that you thought, why do you keep comparing to the comic books? You keep saying we can't compare to the comic books for the.
I'm just saying for one aspect. It's saying this is influencing the rest of his character. I'll send you guys some videos I've seen of the Maker. I think you can actually see a little bit of the similarities for sure. I mean, he's even scarred to like Miles Teller. Jesus. No, like that's not even a joke. I'm like, he kind of looks like, because the character, he plays a younger version. He's obviously very inspired by the Ultimate Fantastic Four, so it'd be cool. I think that there is more to gain than lose by bringing him back, for sure. I think he's such a cool actor. So.
Ratings? Do we do our ratings?
I give it a 5. I give it a 5 out of 10.
Alvan, what's your rating?
Well, it's the Fantastic Four, so I give it a 4 out of 10. I give it a 2 out of 5.
Okay, it's not bad.
I give it a 2 out of 10.
2 out of 10. That's too fucking low. 2 for too fucking low.
It's 2 out of 10.
This is the saltiest you guys have ever been on any video I've ever seen in my fucking life. This might be enough to break up the channel.
This is the trolliest you've ever been. I know you don't argue like this. I know you don't argue like this. This is not you.
Yeah, obviously I'm playing up. Yeah,
so we're playing up the salt. We're playing up the salt.
Okay, that's good then. I'm happy to, because you guys brought up some great points. This is the first time in my life where I actually thought they actually might have maybe defeated me. I don't know. I was like, you guys did decently well.
100% you've been defeated, bro.
I don't know if it's 100%, maybe like 60-40.
But it was like the ratio of the good part and bad part of this movie. 80% of the movie's bad, 20% is good.
We never said that. Who the fuck agreed to 80-40? Do you even understand? We said 50 minutes. We all agreed to 50. We all agreed to 50.
I said 40 minutes.
Now you listen to me, little fucking shits. Now you listen to me, you little fucking shits, alright? I know for a fact Omi's going to do his next movie, right? And what is it going to be on? Origins? What shitty movie are you going to pick? Green Lantern?
No, I want to pick a movie that I have a passion about. Because, I mean, I like Origins.
Well, good fucking luck, because after talking to you guys tonight, you guys have no fucking heart. No soul. You guys are cynical little shits. Factual. Right? You guys couldn't find 1 ounce of fun in this movie, so good luck finding something you're passionate about. That isn't a Snyder movie. Yeah. Actually, you haven't seen a lot of Snyder movies. You've only seen his DC one, so you got a short list, buddy.
I saw Sucker Punch.
That would be a fun one. I actually enjoyed
Tee.
What do you mean?
You're wrong.
About what?
I told you I saw Sucker Punch, so I've seen more than his DC one.
Oh, for sure. Still had to watch Rebel Moon, the director's cut.
I do want to watch that. Maybe I'll make you guys watch
Give
that.
the audience, give them a little teaser of what your movie is gonna be, because I think Alvin already teased with us.
Is
what his
Alvin
pick
next
is.
or am I next?
I thought you were next. Alvin just did Eternals.
Oh, I'm next. I gotta put some thought into it. I actually don't know. I gotta look through my list. I gotta see movies that I'm passionate about. Look through my filmography.
Because that's why
this
this
was a
worked
very
so well.
fun.
This was a movie that I was passionate about, and I still enjoy the movie.
I agree.
And I bet you
agree,
guys
no,
didn't even watch that trailer I sent. That was a really good
I
trailer.
did. I
It
did.
did.
I told
There's
you.
It's a great trailer, right?
So many
There's 3
cutscenes.
scenes that are not in this movie.
Yes.
Working on the
Yeah.
car, the
Yeah.
bat,
The baseball,
Yeah.
the-
Diving
Victor
down.
and
I would have
Reed.
loved
a lot.
Shrink Cut.
so much of the movie's cut, and like even
Yes.
it's a joke.
So much
I have
potential.
to put some thought into the next movie I want to see. Alvin, did you already know what you wanted to pick?
Yeah, if it's easier, then we can just do what I want to do next. It's No Way Home.
Oh, okay, that's a good one. I'll be able to pick a movie. If I can't pick a movie in the next few days, we'll just do No Way Home.
Okay, for sure.
That'd be a fun one, because if you guys don't know, that is Alvin's one of his least favorite movies in the MCU. So I think Alvin said it was going to be a title offense. Alvin is going to be arguing the fact that he thinks that movie is shitty.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, when we were talking about when we saw Deadpool and Wolverine, he saw a lot of similarities with that, and he had a lot of issues. So that is going to be a very, very fun video to argue, because as you guys know, I have 3 posters of the Tobey movies behind me. I love Tobey Maguire, I love the Raimi movies, and I do have thoughts about No Way Home. Any other thoughts, guys, before we sign off in this slightly longer video than we were expecting?
It was
You guys have a
a
lot to
therapy
say.
session. Therapy session.
For you guys, for
yeah.
sure.
No, I mean I appreciate this series because I think I mean it opened my eyes. 'Cause I actually did remember the movie more fondly before I saw
Yes.
it.
Wait, what?
Before I told you, I was truly surprised that it was worse than I remembered. That's the whole thing about this movie about this series is to look at film with a new set of eyes, and maybe you'll like it more, maybe you'll like it less.
I think a lot of
And I
people
think
would
that's
actually like it more.
really awesome. It's truly awesome. Yeah, this movie was way worse than I remember, but I mean, this series is fun.
Yeah. No, I agree with Omid. I think, Amir, I don't want to burst your bubble, but absolutely 0 people are going to watch this movie with new
Actually,
eyes
no.
or the same old eyes.
Well, I mean, what we're seeing with the MCU, how it's going down the crapper, they will rely on member berries. And I know for a fact, if they do the maker, I would really think you guys should owe me something for that. If they do the...
I didn't
that
even
would
mention
actually be
the
really
maker.
hard.
This is your.
I'll buy you
18th
dinner.
mention.
I'll buy you dinner if they bring the maker back. I'll buy you.
I would fucking love that. I would want us to go back to this video in 3 years, 2026,
Yes.
May, and if they bring him back, I really like. I know for a fact if that does happen, both of you guys are like, "Oh shit, Amir was right."
I'm saying
So I hope
stupid
that
as fuck.
happens. I hope
I'm
that
saying
happens.
stupid and desperate as fuck.
Well, guys, this has been well, what do you think? This has been Title Defense. This is one of our, I think, favorite series to kind of do. We don't get to do it as often, but I think with our new schedule, we might be able to get these knocked out much sooner. And I was very happy that we were able to take a day out of the middle of the week to shoot this video. And I'm very curious if you guys have rewatched this movie, or if you guys had strong thoughts before, and if after hearing this conversation it makes you want to rewatch it or makes you change your perspective. Because what did you guys watch it on? Where can they watch
on
it?
DVD.
No, yeah, you
I
watched
watched
it
on
'cause
DVD.
you had the Blu-ray. I gave him the Blu-ray. Alvin, where'd you watch it? Let the people know where they can find it for free if they have a streaming service.
Legally, I don't know if I'm. No, just kidding. I watched it on Max.
Okay, there you go. I bet you guys could right now watch it in Max's. Like we said, it's a 100-minute movie. It flies by. There's a lot of really, really great moments. Soundtrack's incredible. CG holds it pretty well, and cinematography is pretty good. I think Josh Trank did a good job for when he was still at the helm. Even though I've heard he's kind of a shitty person. We could do a follow-up video actually on all the stuff that was cut if you guys are ever interested.
I don't know.
Alvin's reaction, straight up dead serious. That's not happening. But yeah, guys, this has been what do you think? It's been a late Thursday night, but have a great rest of your night, guys, and see you next time.